All right, good afternoon. Call our meeting to order. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Director Stamera?
Here.
Director Atwater?
Here.
Director Palmer?
Here.
Director Blois?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Would you please join us in the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll move right along to public comment. I don't have any requests, but now's the time for any members of the public to address us on any issue not on the agenda for this afternoon. As I said, I have no requests, so we'll move then right along to approval of the minutes.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second, I had a couple little typos
Sure.
that I cleared with Claudia.
Oh,
and
good.
she's going to take care of them. I think they were on page, what was that, 9 or something like that? Just a couple little things that were needing to have a clarification in terms of the wording.
Great. Thank you, Sarah.
She's done it. So it's okay, Claudia? We don't have to read it out or anything like that.
No, I think we're okay.
We're good. Everybody trusts us?
Yes.
All right. Yes.
Okay,
yes, I
we got a second? All right. Motion is second for approval of the minutes. Those for the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed say no. Abstentions? We'll move right along. No consent calendar. Discussion items. Introduction of the new environmental manager. Catherine?
I'd like to introduce Carrie Buckman, this is her first week, so we thought we'd have her dive right in, and I'll allow her to introduce herself.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah, it's my third day, so
Well, welcome.
I'm learning a lot this week.
Three's a good number.
My name is Carrie Buckman. As a background, I have a both engineering and planning background. I've been doing environmental compliance for over 20 years on water resources related projects, focusing on the California Environmental Quality Act, National Environmental Policy Act, Endangered Species Act, California Endangered Species Act, and other environmental permitting efforts. I'm really looking forward to developing a collaborative and cooperative relationship with the DCA and the other water contractors as we move this project forward.
Great. Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
We'll have a lot for you to do.
Looking forward to it.
B, projected monthly expenditures for task orders.
All right, so this is in response to your request, Director Law. We have it up on the screen there. So the blue bars represent our anticipated monthly expenditure. There's a lag in there to account for the time to get the payments processed. And then the blue line is the cumulative curve, and the green line represents the funding. So the most important lines really are the blue and the green. Per the JEPA, their DWR had approved temporary funding of close to $20 million. And then there are 3 of the state water contractors participating that have that plan to go to their boards this fall. That takes the number up to 29.4. And then sometime between the end of the year and early next year, the remaining contractors would make up the entire requested and approved budget for fiscal year. I'm glad to answer any questions you might have on this.
Questions, Steve?
No, that's very good, and I appreciate the effort.
Sure.
The only question I would have is
Yes.
just, are we coordinating with the finance committee and all that?
Yes.
Yes.
State the obvious. Good.
I think did they have their meeting this morning?
Yes, they did.
Yeah.
I don't know if Mr. Thomas would like to.
Yeah, Randy's here. Half of them are here.
Excellent.
We'll move right along to discuss the new monthly board report.
Well, as part of standing up the and developing the governance and policies and procedures around the DCA. One of the early things that we did was develop a new report template that we would include in our monthly packet to you as a summary of where we are. I can go through it if you'd like, page by page, or if you've looked through it, we can, and you have any specific questions, it's purely up to you how you'd like to do this. But what I wanted to do was, this is going to be a public document, obviously, so if the public had any comment on what they would like to see on a monthly basis in terms of an update from the DCA, I wanted to include this in a package as an opportunity for folks to give that feedback, as well as yourselves, obviously.
Yes.
I had a question. So this is something that would be on the webpage?
Correct.
And would the numbers that go across in the banner, are those going to be hot linked?
Yep, clickable.
Okay, good.
So it's a table of contents that clicks to that page of the report.
Oh, good. Okay,
Yeah.
Yeah.
excellent.
No, I think it's a great format, and obviously what you just said, Catherine, if you get any feedback or suggestions how to improve it, I'm sure that it looks excellent.
Yeah, we were thinking of actually filling it in, but then I thought better to actually solicit some public input and give opportunity of comment. So, anything that we're doing, obviously, we are doing under, in the public eye, and I'm glad to put it into the report.
Absolutely.
And I'll be glad to give a beer or a bottle of wine to anybody who can translate the Latin for me. And kind of
Yeah, we did get comments. We don't plan on publishing it in Latin.
We already got comments.
That was merely to get at font and size and whatnot. We did get one public comment that said they couldn't read it, but I apologize that.
It was interesting.
Yeah.
Took me
Well,
back
sure.
a little bit.
Yeah. Do you speak Latin?
I was trying to go through some word roots, but they're long gone.
Yeah.
Feedback, Steve? Yeah, I think it's great, Catherine. This is what we want to do. We want to be very transparent. We want to share all the information we got with everybody. And I encourage members of the public to email us, Catherine, any of us, online, check it out. If you got suggestions, we're trying to put this together. So if you have any suggestions, please give them to us. We'll welcome them, and we'll incorporate them.
Yeah.
But this is great. This is exactly what we need so that everybody knows what's going on.
Yeah. What's good about this is it should make the whole process much more transparent to everybody.
Yep.
Okay, no more questions, then we'll move right along to considering passing a resolution to approve the letter of credit for the DCA office lease.
Thank you, President Estromera. This is a follow-on item from your board approval last month. So as a reminder, last month you approved a lease for DCA office space at 980 9th Street. That approval was subject to staff working to come to a final form on the lease with the landlord and their counsel. We were able to do that, and I'm pleased to report that the lease has been signed. There is one issue that came up through that process, and that's why it's coming back to you today, and that issue relates to the security deposit. So after reviewing the issue, because there's a private lender on the private lender for the landlord at that building, we wanted to make sure that our security deposit would be protected in the event of foreclosure. And so what we've negotiated with the landlord's counsel is a letter of credit in lieu of a security deposit. And we've worked with Bank of America to secure that letter of credit, and a lot of thanks goes to June and her staff for helping us through that process. The bank is requiring a resolution from the board to approve that letter of credit, and so that's the item before you, is approval of the resolution, which will allow Catherine to execute the letter of credit and for us to finalize all the steps we need for the office space lease. I'd be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Justin. Questions?
No, I move approval.
Smart move, yeah. Second.
Motion and second for approval, letter of credit. Those for the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Abstentions? Approved. Ms. Meserve, did you want to address us now at the end of 7 or specific? Go ahead. Go ahead. And I just got it, so you go ahead and then we'll keep going. Good afternoon.
Thank you. My name is Osha Meserve, and I just wanted to make a couple comments on behalf of local agencies of the North Delta on the grouping of the stuff in item 7.
Yes.
So I wasn't quite sure which agenda to put it on. But I think, there continues to be a great deal of opposition in the Delta to any type of conveyance facility that would remove large amounts of fresh water. So even if, and as I made this comment at the prior meeting, and for finance, even if we can deal with some of the localized construction impacts, the operational impacts on our water quality and that our farmers and communities depend on is really important. And that's why we're really, want to promote looking carefully at alternatives that would, if there has to be new conveyance, it needs to only take water during high flows, and it shouldn't be in the North Delta. And so that's why we're very concerned about the continued definition within the JEPA of the conveyance being from the North Delta, because we believe if you have to do new conveyance, there are some other options. That said, I wanted to just make a brief comment about the format of the report. And I noticed there's a sheet about public engagement that was under the last agenda item, and I think something that you could probably improve in that, or maybe add an additional detail that we've been experiencing over the course of the past 10 plus years interfacing with planning efforts in the Delta, is that there should be a disposition column. If people make comments, and especially if they're suggesting alternatives, or if they're suggesting mitigation or whatever it is, it's really important that there be a way to track what the comment is and how it is going to be addressed and what the follow-up is. I think it's a good idea to keep a record, of what you hear, but if you don't ever follow up on it, then, that's why we start to glaze over when people talk about wanting to do these listening sessions and we're really interested, and it's like, how many times have we, said the same thing? So I think if you can create follow-up or disposition columns and actually do those things, then that's going to lend to your credibility. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Meserve. Counsel?
Yeah, that point has been heard, and one of the information systems that we are developing is exactly that database that records the comments and the response. It's going to be searchable by the public. We heard that a lot of times it's difficult to find the questions and the answers, and also accessible. That will be accessible on the website. We could put it in this monthly report, but it might end up taking up pages and pages. I think a database is actually a more useful tool for you all. So the meetings definitely that are held would be in this report, but the collective list of comments that come out of those, we'd like to put in that database. So I appreciate the comment.
Thank you, Kathy. Okay. We'll move right along then to the Executive Director's report.
All right. So it's included in your package. I just want to do a couple of highlights. One of the things that we're working on is setting up the governance and policies and procedures by which the DCA governs itself. As of last week, the status of progress was in the report, but I'd just like to report that we've now gone from 93 not started to 57 not started this week. So there is a lot of effort going into producing these policies and procedures, and we've got an aggressive 90-day target on that. It's really important. We've also been finalizing our execution plans that define the scope of services that we will provide to the DWR's environmental planning process. Those are in their final stages and pretty close to being submitted to DWR for their review and comment. And finally, as Josh noted, we finally signed our lease. The delays in negotiation mean that we're targeting a January 1st move-in date, so maybe we celebrate the new year in our new office. So excited about that. Can't get in there soon enough. We're pretty packed at our current building right now. So those are the highlights. Anyone has any questions?
No, it'll be good to see the new space.
Okay, we'll move right along then to the General Counsel's report. Gotcha.
Thank you. So the items I wanted to highlight is first the office lease. Thank you for approving the letter of credit. Second is just the environmental committee or public engagement committee. We're still working on that internally and hope to bring a draft back to the board for your consideration and input at hopefully at the August meeting, or if not, maybe September. And then lastly, our office continues to assist the DCA with procurements. Right now, we're working on procurements for some IT work, part of which relates to the office, as well as some communications.
Thank you, Josh.
Josh, one thing, since Tony got me named as the chair of.
No, not me, the
Right.
PLA, actually.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, I would like to be kept in the loop on
Absolutely.
the development
Yeah.
of
Yes.
that, so that I'm not like going
Yeah, no, you
deer in the
expect to
headlights
have,
thing.
Yes, once I have a draft that's ready for at least internal input, I'll make sure to share that with you, Sarah.
Thank
All
you.
right,
yeah, as
thank
soon
you.
as there's a draft. Yes.
Yeah, I appreciate getting a copy of it too.
Absolutely.
Yeah, as soon as there's a draft, we'll
Yeah,
make
'cause
sure that we
we'd
all
like
get it.
We'd like to be able to give timely input.
Yeah, right away. As soon as we get it, we'll circulate it, because hopefully we'll be able to do it in the August meeting, if not September, but we'll try for the August. So as soon as we get it, we'll circulate it, give feedback, and then depending on how much time we have, we've got to make sure we have some time for feedback. Then we'll do either August or September.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll
Thank
need
you.
at least a good couple of weeks, because.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
you got to look at it.
Yep.
Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah, and I think as you mentioned, Public Engagement Committee, as we continue to talk between all of us for the last couple of times that we've discussed it, seems that that committee should be more of a general committee that gets more input from stakeholders and so on. So we'll see what Josh comes up with, and we can think about a different name that's more descriptive, just because I think that's what we need at this point. So as soon as we
Something
get
to
it,
put
we'll
on a
circulate it. Yes, you come up again, we'll have another process like we did with the DCA logo, and
Please.
while we'll have some progress. Okay. Okay, we'll move right along to one last report, Treasurer's Report.
Thank you, President Estromera.
Yes, Jim,
Yeah,
good afternoon.
I have in your packet our fiscal year 2018-19 financial statements. They're both accrual and cash. The accrual statements are preliminary. They will be finalized once the audit is completed. I do need to read in a correction to the report. In paragraph 4, line 4, should read, for expenses incurred by DWR in support of the project.
Where is this, I'm sorry?
Right,
It's on this
paragraph
page?
4,
Paragraph 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, okay.
line 4,
Line 4, okay.
starts with the word resources.
Mm-hmm.
For expenses incurred by DWR in support of the project.
Not DCA.
Right.
Right, makes more sense.
Just so you know, some of the expenditures that we had previously expensed in the fiscal year in their entirety, we have now only expensed some of it, and we're showing the balance of the prepaid, and that's because they were services that are being provided that go beyond June 30. The financial statements on pages 3 and 9 include charges from DWR for costs associated with supporting the project activities, and those were primarily environmental costs. This is something we haven't shown previously. So there's a line that says contributed capital.
Oh, I also had a question on over on page 3. I know that at some point you had said last time that there were no property acquisitions. So the property acquisitions line, that's for which properties?
Well, it says lines 2 and 3, so those might primarily be activities by DWR.
Okay.
And so this is more like right-of-way work. I don't think you required any property. It's
Okay,
right-of-way.
okay. Yeah, I was just wondering about that one because of what we had said last time about zero property acquisition.
Subsequent to June 30, we received payment for 3 invoices in the amount of $2,084,233.46. So on your schedules, there's some amounts that show in there for accounts receivable, and that is primarily those amounts, and they have been received. In addition, the auditors are scheduled to be at Metropolitan on August 5th, and the auditor for the DCA is KPMG. And that is all of the comments that I have.
Thank you, June. Any questions? Other questions? Thank you very much. So, I have a request to speak on 8. Mr. Dan Whaley?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mr.
My
Whaley.
name's Dan Whaley. I'm a Delta resident. I have just a couple of questions. One, it seems to me we're talking about an engagement plan between DWR and the DCA, when in fact they should make that engagement plan with the people who actually are going to be affected, the stakeholders, and include them in whatever that plan is going to be. We still don't know what the defined project is. And frankly, General Counsel should explain at the next meeting the basis for spending money on drill testing for an alignment that has not yet even been confirmed or agreed upon or designated. Engagement is what you do before you get married. And there's nothing about this process that is including the locals. And their voice should be heard, because if it's not heard, then they're going to object if they're not included. Now, the other thing that's very important is to define what problem you're trying to solve. Because for the amount of money that they've already projected that this would cost, you could buy a new pressure toilet for everyone in Los Angeles, and you would save 5 gallons every time somebody flushed the toilet. There's recyclability to do all kinds of alternatives that haven't yet been explored. And so to run down the road of building a single tunnel, already doing testing and design for that, is a waste of taxpayer dollars. And while we'd like to not start this whole process with litigation, we'd also like to be made part of the process, not told how the process is going to occur. Thank you.
Thank you. Future agenda items? Any requests for future agenda items? I think we'll have a pretty busy meeting next time, or September, but probably next month. But if there's no request, then we'll move right along to adjournment. Thank you all. I assure you these meetings are short, but they will get longer and longer as we get along.
Oh, joy.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Stand adjourned.